Okay, Bruchim Abayim, Shkoyach Rabbi Shem, and Pinchas, and Levi, and Michal. I'm going to remind the Shir is Baruch Hashem, the Schus, the Rafua Shlema for Mayan Amuna Chaya Bas Chanaleya, Shav Rafua Shlema. Afterwards, it's going to be a little Farbrengen, also sharing Psoris Toivis. And who? Oh, himself, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a beautiful vart of the Rebbe on the Parsha, which really gives us a little bit even of an overview of what our Parsha is going to deal with. We know that if you open a book and it has a title, you could assume that the chapter is going to talk about what the title presented. So it's a little bit, the Rebbe points out, it's a little bit, I say misleading. Kolshkein Torah, that's the Inyan of Shleimus, that Chayei, which is the title of the Parsha, should start off and primarily discuss the passing of Sarah. So it's not really her life. So the Rebbe, to understand this, the Rebbe prefaces a different question. It was very gishmak. I'm saying the Rebbe's take. We find that Avram Avinu was able to go on Mesiras Nefesh and surpass the 10th Nisayan of the Akedah. With flying colors, he goes, doesn't matter what the Satan put before him, he filled the water, and everything. And Sarah hears about it, and she passes away from it. It's a little bit, she heard, and she was very sad, and then came out, as Rashi brings, and she had So l'chora, what does this mean about Sarah? So Rabbi explains that we find that Avram, his inyan was dedication to the Eibishter that was beyond the world. And B'meila, and I think it's important because we all have these two approaches in our life. One is, when there's a problem, you take the highway, the Chayei Riber, and the whole world doesn't exist. Avram Avinu says, the Eibishter said, B'yitzchak yikar l'chazara. Not the time to think about it. Sarah, her inyan was bringing Elokus into this world. We find many examples for this throughout. And throughout the Sarahs of all generations, all women, their job is Dakeres Habayis, to nail it down, to bring Elokus into the home. And we find by Sarah that the idea of Yitzchak, which is supposed to be the continuation of Avram's vision, bringing Elokus into this world, she can't handle the idea that he almost passed away and then didn't pass away. That shocked her. Why? Because she wasn't able to comprehend. She wasn't able to hold on to such a concept. So the Rebbe says that's why this parsha is called Chayei. Our parsha, due to the two main themes of our parsha, they're the epitome. They're the fruition of Sarah's vision of life, which is Avram Avinu finally bought a plot of land in Eretz Yisrael. It's connected to her also, but the fact that Avram Avinu bought a plot of land, that was her vision. Her vision was Elokus in this world. She followed her husband, Lachtech Acharei B'Midbar, to go L'Aretz Asher Areka. But she wanted it. The second thing that happened in our parsha is Yitzchak's marriage. Finally, the first person that was born a Yid to establish a home, and from there the future generations of Am Yisrael. These two, they're the full expression of Sarah's life. Her life, and this was expressed by her passing. Her passing expressed this idea. Because her passing expressed this idea because she couldn't handle something that's outside of this world, and therefore the parsha, the title of the parsha, and the storyline of the parsha express Sarah's her thirst, her yearning, what her life goal was about Leirid Lamata Ba'aret. And I think firstly, I'm saying in Avodah, Teiros Moshe Naira, we all have these two. And you have to be able to use both modes. Ein Kohen La'avis El L'Shloisha. Chassidus quotes this law. What does it mean, Ein Kohen La'avis El L'Shloisha? That there's 12 Shvatim. Each one of them has a different path. Not necessarily I have to have in myself, in me, Yehuda, Binyamin, Yosef, Zvulun, Yisachar. They're different paths. But the Avos, we all have within us. We're all descendants of the Avos. That's pshat of the Memra, Ein Kohen La'avis El L'Shloisha. These three, every Yid has. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And in this vein, everyone has the ability sometimes to put himself above, but has to have also the drive, Leirid Lamata Ba'aretz. And that should be... Okay. So let's jump in to a very powerful theme in our Parsha, which is the passing of Sarah. Now, I'm going to point out that it's very, very interesting. If you look into the wording, I do apologize that I would really love to go through the entire Parsha, the story of Eliezer, and finding Rivka and Besuel, fascinating story. And Rifrat, the way Rashi learns it. But, as much as my time permits, so I focused on this story more. So let's have a look. You here, Pinchas? You with us? Good. So Sarah passes away, and Avraham Avinu is coming from Be'er Sheva, right? And the Torah tells us, "V'yu Chayei Sarah, 100 shana, 10 shana, 7 shana, Shnei Chayei Sarah." A little tells us about her character. That Bas Kuf Ki Bas Chaf, as Rashi explains. And then Batama Sarah Bekiryas Arba Hi Chevron. She passed away in Chevron, Beretz Canaan. And Vayave Avram came. And Rashi explains he came from Beersheba. And he came, Lisboid L'Sarav L'Ufkoisa. That's Dafka there where Rashi brings, it just teaches us that Sarah passed away because of that Akedah. But Kitzer, Avram came, and it seems to indicate that was part of the L'Ufkoisa. The hesped he gave was the fact that she had a son that was ready to give up his life. Rashi puts it on Livkoisa also. The spoiler of Livkoisa. Bekitzer, after this, follow closely in the Psukim. Moiridik. Vayakum Avram Mal Pnei Mesa. He stood up from in front of his deceased. Vayidabra of Bnei Ches Lamer, and he starts talking to Bnei Ches. Now I want to point out there are two phases in Avram Avinu's discussion with Ches, which really begs an explanation. From Pasuk Dalid till Pasuk Ches, okay? Avram starts and he says, you should know, Ger v'toishav anochi imachem, as Rashi explains, I could take it as a citizen here of this country, or I could take it, I'm a visitor, and you could respect me in that vein and sell to me, whatever. Either I came to live here, give me a place to live. I'll be able to. They right away responded, listen to us, our master. You're a prince, you're a minister of the Eibishter between us. We're going to give you from the best of our kvarim. No one's going to withhold it. You would think it would go straight into the next discussion. If you talk and want to... No, Avram Avinu stops and he bows down. But Yaakov Avram, he got up. He bowed. Then there's a new discussion. He spoke to them saying, if you talk, as Rashi says, if this is taka your will, then ofiguli, please beg on my behalf. Be'efren ben Soichar v'yitinli, and he's going to give me Marsa Machpelah Shaloi, and I'm ready to pay full cash. The people you should know, just to put things in perspective, Avram Avinu was a huge figure, a towering figure. They all, as Rashi says, ve'efren yoishiv, that day, the fact that Avram Avinu needed his help was enough that they should decide he's going to be the minister. That's it. We have to appoint him something chashuv. It's just pasnish that Avram should deal with someone a low-class citizen. We're going to up his status. Good. All l'gdula. And it was l'chol boi shar irei shekulam bitlu memalachtan obo ligmo chesed l'sara. Everybody stopped working. So this is a huge deal. And they said, "Anasi Elokim ata b'zachenu, we're going to give you the best." Okay? Oh, Shmulik. So, let's back up a second. The people in Beersheba, the people in Kiryas Arba, which is Hebron, tremendous hadras covered for Avram. This is like hands down. They're all mifchak kvarenu kvaris meisecha, etc., etc. And then, and they appointed it. Good. The whole story they go through. V'yitin is maras machpelah. I'm going to pay full money. Be'efren. Yeah. And then starts a whole back and forth about the money. Mamash a whole back and forth. He already said before he wants to pay. But Vishtacho Avram, again, each time, says, Ephraim says to him, it's as if I already gave it to you. Please do it. Vishtacho Avram lefnei ha'aretz, he bowed. Okay? So this bowing is a second bow, right? Then Vaydaber el Ephraim. Now he starts the third discussion. He starts the third discussion. Vaydaber el Ephraim ba'oznei am ha'aretz lemer. He says to all the people, Im atah lu shma'eni. He says, I don't want. If you want halavai, you'll just listen to me already and take the money and Arba'mai shekel kaseh b'nei u'beincha mahi, a land that's worth 400 shekel, that should stand between us. Take it. That's meischak kvar. Avram listened to Ephraim, gave him the money that he spoke. Arba'mai shekel kaseh oiver l'seicher. Okay. Vayakom stay Ephraim, the whole story. So I wanna first start with making one very, very very weird. Something here looks very interesting. It's like an observation. Avram Avinu is standing. They have tremendous hadras covered for him. They're ready to give everything for free. He wants to pay. That's his own story. Avram Avinu, if you look closely, I'm going to bring a few examples in a minute. He makes it all about, I have a mace over here. Please let me bury my mace, because I need to bury my mace. Which means not just, okay, that's where we're up to right now. No. He says, basically I'm stuck. Why are you stuck? They have tremendous, and he keeps on mentioning it. Look, if you go back to the beginning, Vayakom Avram ma'al pnei mesai, he stands up from before his mace. I mean, this is pshat. Avram, it says he came, lispad l'sarabel of Kaisa, very good. He stopped that and went to talk to them, and he said, he should have said ve'ekberas mesim. Milfonai sounds like this mace is lying over here and we have to do something. Now, if you think this is like a maybe yeah, maybe not, you see that they continue when they talk to him back. It's not about Avram wants to buy. Let's sell it to him. They all respect him. The whole discussion is not. There's two details in Pasuk Vav if you look. He says, you're the prince, the Eibishter between us, and the best of our, choicest of our kvarim you could bury. But then the Pasuk continues, Ish mimenu, nobody from us, they're not going to withhold. Okay? No one's going to withhold their... What's the... You see this weiter also. Im yeshes nafshechem likveres meisi milfonai. What's this milfonai? He keeps on saying, there's a mace laying over here, and we need to honor, and they're answering him about the mace. Why doesn't it become about a place Avram Avinu wants to buy to bury a mace? When a person comes in and he says, I want to buy a plot. Okay, well, now the discussion's about the plot. You don't keep on going back. Befrat that they're ready to sell it and ready to give it, and you keep on saying, but I have a mace over here. It's not the discussion. It says, Vayakam al pnei mesa. He got up. He already lispad l'sara v'livkoisa. She wasn't buried yet. It keeps on going back. I want to be kover this mace that's before me. And they keep on saying, the mace that's before you, kvar meisecha. They keep on mentioning the fact that it keeps on going again and again. You see that he keeps on taking it back. Where does it stop? All of a sudden, if you want to notice, like, you could say that this is an interesting lashon, but it's not mukhrach. If you look at after he sold it, all of a sudden they stopped talking about the mace. This is even before she buried her. All of a sudden, Vayakam stay Ephron Asher Machpela Lefnei Mamre. The Sada became Avram's. Vayakam. Rashi says Tkuma Haisaloi because now it belongs to Amelech. Lavram Lemikna. Next pasuk, Avram bought it. B'chol Bay Sharira in front of everybody. All of a sudden, it stops being about the mace. It just Avram bought a burial plot. He brought it where? V'achre king cover Avram Esara Ishtoi. It's not about a mace anymore. So Avram was he had a place and he was Mekaber Esara Ishtoi, right? Vayakam Asara again. It says that the Vayakam Asara Mara Shabayla Avram and this belonged to Avram Lachuzas Kever Meis Bnei Ches. All of a sudden, it stops being about the mace. Okay, which is very. It's when we're talking about Sarah Imenu, to make the story, you should know that in today's terms this would seemingly would be called Bizayin HaMeis. It would called Bizayin HaMeis. Say you're going to buy a plot in a place that you have designated, and he wanted Dafke there. Say I'm buying a plot. You don't say I have this mace I have to bury, and they say okay you should bury the mace. He says no, but I can't. I wanted this, but I want to pay for a place for my. The whole discussion is very mudden. It's not. The end is very passive. The end, if you see, is super respectful. From Pasuk Yud Zayin until the end of the Perek, all of a sudden they managed to start talking. After he bought the plot, by Yaakov stay. First of all, it's not about. The field belongs to him. The place had a tkuma, and even when it talks about Avram, it doesn't say he buried his mace. It says cover Asara Ishtoi, and it became Achuz's cover. There's something there in the lashon. Besides all the times that Avram, stops in the middle, but that's another thing. So I want to point out something interesting. Let's stop for a second. There's a Rashi right at the beginning of the Parsha that says what? Oh, Pinchas, you want to put it out? Probably it's good. All right. Oh, I'll say loud. Listen to this. I think it's a Ulay Shloima. Where did Avram Avinu come from? Rashi says he came from Beersheba. This is right after the Akedah, right? Sarah passed away because of the Akedah. So this is right after the Akedah, and they lived in Beersheba, in Hebron for how many years? Rashi brings, if you go back, Rashi brings that they lived in Beersheba for 26 years. Sorry. They lived in Beersheba, They lived in Beersheba for 26 years, and then they lived in Hebron for 13 years. What's the exact cheshbon? 12 years. 12 years. 12 years they were living there. Okay? When you realize that for a second, this is a little bit, the whole story starts falling apart a little bit. They lived over there. When Avram said, Ger v'toishav anoichi imachem, so Ger is pshat, I came from a different city, v'nis yashavti. But he's living there for 12 years. And they knew who Avram was. So the whole story, as if all of a sudden, they made a procession when Avram came and they discovered who he is. Somehow, there's that Havana that all of a sudden something happened.
They didn't consider him as one of them. They didn't consider him as one of them.
Okay. And now they didn't either.
Right.
They just considered him. So what exactly... Something is going on here. So I want to point out, if you go a little bit back, there's a fascinating Rashi. How did Avram Avinu get to Beersheba? What was Avram Avinu looking for in Beersheba? His wife, you should know the last time Avram saw Sarah was when? When he left for the Akedah. Right? After the Akedah, they both went to Beersheba. This is a little bit of an interesting story. Why didn't he go back home? Not only that, it says, V'yeshiv Avram beBeersheba. He went there, he didn't go home. And then, when she passed away, he came. So Rashi is going to point out that he wasn't there for a long time in Beersheba. But what was he doing in Beersheba? Why, after the Akedah, did he not come right away back to Sarah? So there's a Rashi. If you go back, at the end of Parshas Vayera, Pasuk, right at the end of the story of the Akedah, Pasuk Yutes, it says Vayashav Avram on the Arab, after the whole Nisayan, the Akedah ordeal, he returned to his lads, Shmuel and Yitzchak there. Vayakumu v'yelchu yachtav el Beersheva. They went to Beersheva. Vayeshiv Avram Beersheva. Avram dwelt in Beersheva. So Rashi's bothered by this Vayeshiv. He went to live without his wife. What's going on? So firstly, Rashi says Lo Yeshiva Mamish. Can't be that he went to live there. Why? His place of living was for 12 years before the Akedah of Yitzchak. And Rashi does the math for you. He went from Beersheba and went to Hebron. So he lived 25 years in Elonim Mamre, which is Hebron, and then he moved to Beersheba, and he lived more than the days that he lived in Hebron, which was 26 years, more than the 25 that he lived in Elonim Mamre, and then he went back to Hebron and lived another 12 years. Okay? Good. So Avram Avinu went to live. He didn't really. So what is Rashi saying? Rashi is saying, I don't think Avram went to live in Beersheba. It can't be he lived in Beersheba because he lived in Hebron. What was he doing in Beersheba? Zogt uns Rashi. This is the next Rashi on Pasuk Chaf. It starts telling us the whole yichus of Avram's brother Nachor and his wife Milcah. They had a whole bunch of children. All to tell us that B'sul Yola des Rivka. Okay? So Rashi says, why does it say Achrei Advarim Ha'ela? Why does it tell us the story, the whole yichus, the whole story of the descendants of Avram's brother right after the story of the Akedah. So Rashi here tells us what he was looking for in Beersheba. Yeah, look Rashi, Pasuk Chaf, the B'masla Achrei Advarim Ha'ela V'Yugad, Sakta Azay, B'shuvay Mehara Maria, on the way back from Har Maria, Mehara V'Oimer, Avram Mehara V'Oimer, he was thinking in his mind, Ilu Haya B'nei Shachot, had my son been shechted on Har Maria, Haya Ha'ilach B'li Banim, he would have been childless. Maybe what should have happened, Ha'ili La'asiyah, Isha Mibnais Ana Eshkol Mamre, I should have married him off with the daughters of Ana, Eshkol, and Mamre. Because they were Bali Bris Avram. So Bisrei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's why, Achrei Advarim Ha'ela, when he went to Beersheba, the Eibishter told him right away, Bisrei Shnei Lod Rivka Bazugoi, V'zeo Hadvarim Ha'ela. When it says Achrei Advarim Ha'ela, it's talking about the Hirurei Dvarim that he had after the Akedah. Good. Yeah. So Avram Avinu, to put it in simple words, what Rashi just told us, Avram Avinu went to Beersheba after the Akedah because he decided it's time to marry off. It's time to marry off Yitzchak.
Was Rivka the Gilgal of Sarah?
And then he hears that Sarah passed away, and he comes from Beersheba. He comes home.
Even before he went home, after that Kedi, he went to Beersheba.
So
before he went home, he went to Beersheba.
Correct. That means he didn't see Sarah again from when he left. He didn't see Sarah. Now, the thought that Avram Avinu wasn't there, I'm going to tell you, I thought. If we think about it, you know what was going on in Hebron? Why was Avram going to Beersheba to look for a wife? Beersheba was no small place. Beersheba, when we learned at the end of Parshas Lech Lecha, Vayita Eishel, in Vayita Eishel Beersheba, Vayikra Sham B'Shem Hashem, Vayagar Beretz Plishtim Yamim Rabim, it's talking about Beersheba. His primary shluchus was Beersheba. That's where he set up shop. That's where he was in full expression. That's where Vayera happened. Yeah?
I thought he was in Beersheba and then moved away because that was the city in between Gerar and Sdom. Once Sdom was destroyed, he moved because there's nobody passing by.
Interesting. So what was he? So I hear. So you're saying that he wanted to move the Eishel to.
He moved it to Gerar because nobody was passing by anymore.
Right. You're saying that's why he moved to Hebron. Because after Beersheba he moved to Hebron. So only catches it doesn't say that he Vayita Eishel beHebron. Doesn't say. Secondly, it says that he was going for a shidduch to honor Eshkol and Mamre, Bali Bris Avram. He appreciated that place. Not only that, let me share with you. It's also nicker that Avram Avinu didn't appreciate Bnei Ches and the people in Hebron. V'haraya. First of all, they weren't Bali Bris Avram, according to the Pshat, that they were Bali Bris. That means they got into a pact. But if you see the whole discussion, when by in Eloini Mamre, which is Hebron, Avram Avinu took counsel. He invited them. He made a soda, right? He made the bris over there. Avram Avinu there was a lot going on. Avram Avinu had a Chabad house. The place over here, he has to, from the way he starts, he has to convince them, B'chlal, that he lives here. Right? And you see that Avram Avinu Taka, initially he wanted a shidduch from there. not from Hebron.
Where did you want to shoot from Beersheba?
Yeah, that's why he went there. That's what we just saw in Rashi. 1 second. And then in the end, the Eibishter says, you know, the Eibishter says, we have for you Rivka, go to Aram Naharaim. L'Eretz Moladtecha. Right? So, Bekitzer, I want a thought that I have, and I think this will help us a little bit understand Mesai. This whole time he keeps on referring to Mesai. From the fact that Avram Avinu didn't want to take from the fact that Avram Avinu didn't want to take from Hebron, he went away, he went to Beersheba. It could come across, let me say it a little differently. The people respected Avram. Avram was known. Avram fought a battle. He fought 4 Malachim. Avram was a big figure. I'm saying even in terms of the Goyim. World famous. He saved the whole city of Sdom initially. Avram Avinu. He came bekesef u'b'mikneh from Pare, from Gror, from Avimelech. He was rich. He was a huge figure. I'm saying begashmi, it's not even beruchnis. I'm talking about power and money. And in those days, by a goy, that's what talks. Yeah. And somehow, Sarah, the respect wasn't for Sarah. Not necessarily. You don't find Sarah. Now it's maybe meant to be that way on her end. The tznius. But you don't find anybody make any deal about Sarah's passing until Avram comes. And even when Avram comes, he makes it this whole thing about Mesai. And I think could be pshat is Avram wanted the people should recognize the greatness of Sarah. The fact that Avram Avinu came and wanted to be Avram Avinu came and they were ready for him to do anything, right? And he kept on making it about his worry about the mace. He's not alom daber legufo shel inyan. He's not talking about a burial plot. He kept on saying, "I have this mace milfon. I can't." And it gives me a little understanding that if you think about it, it's alluded to Vayakum Avram al pnei Mesa v'daber al bnei Ches Leimor. What's that? Vayakum al pnei Mesa v'daber al bnei Ches Leimor. When Avram Avinu came back to Kiryas Arba and Eretz Canaan, Lispoid l'Sarah v'Levkoisa, there was nobody there. Nobody appreciated Sarah. Nobody appreciated Sarah. Nobody knew Sarah. It says Sarah Megayez Ha'anashim, Avram was Megayez Ha'anashim, she was Megayez Ha'anashim. Where was that? That was in Beersheba. And that was L'chura outside of a yishuv. It wasn't an inhabited place. People passing by, and they were publicizing. But generally, Sarah Hine Ba'aya. Avram Avinu came, if you look at the Pasuk, he came, look again at Pasuk Beis. V'tamasar b'kiyas arba yichevrain, v'etzkan v'yava Avram lispoid l'sara v'levkoisa. He came. Then he left to speak to Bnei Ches. He stood up from being al pnei mesai. Why doesn't it just say Vayakom Vaydaber bnei ches? He was a very chashuv yid. But the fact is, Sarah, nobody. And you see this weiter. That's why he keeps on saying, Ger v'soishav anoichi imachem. He's desperate. Imagine if Avram Avinu, who Avram Avinu is desperate and can't, because I have a mace. Even if they don't understand what Sarah is, they understand that for Avram this is Avram wants something special. Avram wanted them to understand who's going to be lying in their midst. And therefore Avram keeps on going back and saying, I have a mace. They don't care what. If a person that's a rich person says, I need this thing. I need to buy this from you. Don't start parking in his business why he needs it. They didn't come to Lavdafka came to her. Rashi says afterwards, it's very interesting. Only later, look at this. Just look. He says, "V'yanu b'nei ches." So ger v'soishav anoichi imachem tnu li achuz kever ve'ekbar amesim l'fonai. This mace that's before me, I need a barrier. So v'yanu b'nei ches, they said, "Shmeinu nesiya l'kim ata b'sachenu b'mivchar kveinu kvar meisecha." What are they telling him? We're giving you the best of the kvarim. Avram thanked them, but he didn't feel like he got it. It still wasn't about Sarah. So v'yidaber itam lamer. If you want, and you want to reach what I want, likvers meisim milfanai shma'uni yifigli ben Sarah. I need you to find, but I need to be mekaber my mace. All of a sudden you'll see. Sorry, go back. Ve'efren Yosef. All of a sudden, the story changes. After Avram does this twice, it says, all of a sudden, you find Chol Boy Shar Iroi, and over here, all of a sudden, Rashi says, Shekulam Batlu Mimlachtan or Bo Ligmal Chesed L'Sara. Over here, all of a sudden, when they realize that it's not something Avram Avinu needs, it's the respect that Avraham Avinu has. All of a sudden, just like they made Ephraim on that day, the minister, they were at that point only Boyishar Iroi Lamer. It's only brought later. It could, if not, if this would have had l'chura, if this l'chol Boyishar Iroi, the Rashi says Kulam Badal Macha or Bo Ligmal Chesed L'Sara happened right after her passing, and everyone was by the Levaya. Then why didn't Avram Avinu just say this right away? It says Vayakom Avram al pnei Mesa v'yidaber al bnei ches lemer. Just say Vayidaber Avram al bnei ches lemer. They didn't have anything with Sarah. Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is that obviously if it was just about money, then obviously Avram would just pay the money and do his own thing. But what he really wanted. So I guess the question is why did he care? Is it because he was trying to tell? When you say why, the whole shir you're being mad is that he wanted to tell them about the covenant of Sarah.
Right.
But why?
Oh.
What does he care?
Why is this important?
Why is this important?
Right.
For him, it's important. What is he trying to affect them?
I'll tell you why. And we'll get to a different cause that I want. It sounded like from. Why is this important? Firstly, besides the fact that she's going to be buried there, the fact that Avram went elsewhere to look for a wife for Yitzchak could reflect, and right after the Akedah, the fact that he wasn't there, that could be speaking negative about Kivyachol. Avram Avinu, forget about Avram and Sarah, that's Parsha, but Avram Avinu wanted a wife for Yitzchak. He wasn't looking dafka for someone near where Sarah was, near who she was close with. That's what it could sound like. And therefore, I think there's the fact that Avraham Avinu wasn't there, I think could be b'pshuda shel mikra. That could be one of the reasons why he wanted. Another one is that Lamaisa, the Eibishter didn't choose didn't choose a wife from anyone that she was mekarev. And therefore, the Torah is going to tell us later on that the cloud came back and that Rivka was similar to Sarah. But for the people around, it doesn't look very good. Not the fact that Avram didn't come there, and even more than that, that from all the people that were close to Sarah, he didn't find anybody. It doesn't look like Avram is Mechabit Sarah. Avram, the way he built it up, I'm just going to finish this Nekuda, and then I'll say right there. You see that, firstly, after he was mishtach for the first time and then continued speaking, all of a sudden it says the Chol Boy Shar Ira. Rashi tells us here they started being Goymel Chesed L'Sara. Everybody came. They stopped working. They understood this is Avram Avinu's not just something he needs. This is a Evel. I mean, mind you, I'm saying that in those days they could have more than one wife, whatever, a wife. I'm saying you should know that in Bechlal, in the till today in the Arabic countries, a wife is it's not just hini ba'oyel at tznius. It's taka, not a matzis in front of men. It's a frat that you could have many wives. And the fact that Avram Avinu made it specifically about Sarah, he said it's not that I need a place to bury, I need a plot. But that also befrat coming on the heels that Avram Avinu went there before he came. And I just want to finish this nekuda that you see all of a sudden say that they were batal malachtan to be goymel chesed l'sara, and then all of a sudden you see for the first time that they relate to the sada after he buried, even before they bury her, after this whole ordeal, they look at the sada. Now this is a place for Avram's wife, a different story. Not only that, the nusach changes. All of a sudden, V'achra came cover Avram as Sarah Ishtoi. For the first time, you see this lashon. The whole time, Avram Avinu refers to her as Mesi, and they are not. They understand it's Avram's deal, but the more Avram is drilling it, the more they're understanding her greatness. To the extent that after it says cover Avram as Sarah Ishtoi al Marsa Machpelah, and then Vayakam Hasada V'Mara, Rashi says Tkuma Hoisaloi, it became as powerful. So I think this is I think that's if you follow the lashon of Macy, and he keeps on drilling it, and then all of a sudden you see they start being mechabed. They said Ligbal Chesed L'Sara, and then all of a sudden they refer to her as Sarah Ishtoi, and then it says the Tkuma. All of a sudden, then it says no, he wanted to buy a field, because then already it's not stam a plot of land. When they understand what he wants to use it for, then that itself is a tremendous covet. And again, like I said, later on we're going to find out that when Yitzchak found Rivka, she came b'vel ha'oyla Sarah imoy. Okay, that's where it says only later that he brought her home to Sarah's tent, and Rashi tells us, that she was on the caliber of Sarah. But for the regular people that didn't know from the Shechin and didn't know from all these Nisim, the story looks very, very mudna. The fact that Avraham Avinu wasn't there, and even more that he went to look elsewhere. So this is one nekuda. I want to share a few inyanim on the few verter. One of them is that's the good shaila. Avram and Sarah, how long? Sarah lived 127 years. Avram lived 175. Why is it taka that Sarah lived so much less than Avram? 48 years less. So it's a dekis. It's a big slice of time. I mean, it's a simple cheshbon. Yitzchak was born when Sarah was 100, and then he was 48 by the Akedah. It's always had a nice word. According to the Psikta Rabasi,
38?
40. Avram was 48 when he was Makir as Boire. We know the famous Medrash is 4 years old. But the Psikta says that he was 48. Ebazei, then when Avram Hikr is Boire, it's like Tinuk Shen is Gaye. And Mamela, both of them lived 127 years. You deduct from 175 and 48 is 107 is 127. Another thing is very interesting. It's almost safer. A liquid saver. Didn't bring him out. Another interesting thing is you find Avram Avinu tells. Okay, this is the other bit. He says, Ephron says. Avram says to Ephron, "I'm ready to pay all the money." Ephron says, "No, it's interesting. People don't really chap what the meaning of the words are." So Gatzel Taicha Stam says something. The field is between me and you. It's 400 shekel kesef. There's no difference. It should be. What is it? It's nothing. If it's nothing, it should be in my pocket. He says it's nothing. Ephron, the Parsha the Taich. It's mamish clear because if you look in the Unklus in the Targum, he says Adoni Shmo'eni, my master listen to me. Eretz Abama Shekel Kesef, a land of 400 silver coins, shkolim. The Targum says Shavia, a land that's worth 400. That can't stand between us. He threw an amount. Okay. But l'chura, what he was saying was, not l'chura, what he was officially saying was something for just this amount. It shouldn't stand between. It's nothing. And then the next pasuk says, "Vayishma Avram el Ephron." He listened to what Ephron said. Vayishkol Avram el Ephron, but he said, "I don't need the money." And here it says also, "Vayishma Avram el Ephron." He was listening to him, and he did it. So Rashi brings. Vayishkal is chaser because they talk a lot, but they don't. Lamaisei took kantering them. He took the money. He was. But Vayishmal Kim La Ephraim. He said. Rabbi Yonasan Eibshit says like this, that he said the amount that's beini u beincha. If you write the word Avram and you write the word Ephraim, what's the letter in the middle? Is Reish and Reish. Aleph Beis, Reish, Hey Mem. So it's Reish, 200. And Ephraim is Ayin Fei, Reish, Vav Nun. So he said, so Avram listened to what he said. He said that the Beini Lebeincha, the letter that's right in the middle by me and right in the middle by you, is Arbama Shekel Kesef. It's 400. That means he indicated that the Beini Beincha is not just Beini Beincha. It's a good number. Abraham will listen to him. Anyways, okay. Another Geshmak Vart. This is Bechlal, very important Vart. It's also documented. There's this girl, Mrs. Sharfstein. So she used to go in Yechidus. She held herself close to the Rebbe. In the early years, she was a girl, and she would go into Yechidus. I don't know. She would write to the Rebbe. She's going out. She went out. She was going out. Wrote to the Rebbe this and that. And one time she was in Yechidus, and the Rebbe. No, one sec. No, take that back. She was in Yechidus, and the Rebbe asked her why she's not, what's going on with Shidduchim. So she said she didn't find somebody that passed for her. So the Rebbe said, and what's with this bacher? She said a name, and she went out with him. So she explained to the Rebbe that it's nicht, because this, because that. The Rebbe said, and what's with this bacher? Another bacher. Kitzer. She said she didn't know that every bacher before they went out, they wrote to the Rebbe. But the Rebbe should remember. But the Rebbe, next bacher. The Rebbe went through a whole bunch of bacher that she went out with, and each one wanted to hear why she passed her, why she didn't want to get engaged. And then the Rebbe told her, "You're reading too many novels." The Rebbe said she wrote to the Rebbe that she told the Rebbe she loves to read. The Rebbe said, "Love, in the way it is in the books, is fluff, is nishtamas." And the Rebbe told her, real love is developed on dedication and grows deeper and deeper. You go through things together, and it grows to the extent that at some point you can't imagine your life without the other person. It just happens that this is in our Parsha. You see this by Yitzchak. It says Vayivi'el ha'oyel asara imoy vayavel, and he loved her. So when, after he got married and after the whole story, he brought her Sarah imoy, and everything came back, and then vayavel. You see that the love, what's called l'chatchila love, is nish.
That's for the boy, but the girl, she fell off the horse.
Right.
The horse, so for the boy it works that way.
Right. Oh, you're saying okay, dafka azoy. But it's important to know this. I'm going to share one more word. The mucker. What's the mucker? So this is a geschmack word. My wife's Zayda, Rebel Zaltzman, was saying his own chazidus to me the first time. It says that what's the mucker that a kala gets covered? It says that Sarah fell off the gamel batiskas, and she covered herself. Right? What's the lashon? Oh, here. Vatik pasuk perik chavdal pasuk samach. Vatayim Ravid mi ish hazeh ha'oilach basada. The Kroseinu, who's this? Vayomer ha'eved hu adoni. This is my master. This is Yitzchak. Vatikach es hatzoiv. She took the shawl. Vatiskas, she covered herself. Zokt Rashi. What's vatiskas? Loshen vatispoil. Something that's done to oneself. She did it to herself, but it's not she did. Did could be a poil yoytzet to someone else. She did it to herself. Rashi brings two examples. K'moy vatikaver, vatishaver. What's vatikaver, vatishaver? Vatikaver is when a person gets buried. Okay? Vatishaver is when she sits on the mashber, when she's about to give birth. So, I said, what's this funny? No better examples. She's now getting married. This is like vatikaver. What's vatikaver, vatishaver? So he said like this. There are 2 points in a person's life. There's 3 points in a person's life that everybody makes a huge deal about them. When a baby's born, everybody is hugging and kochi. Everyone loves the baby and diapering. Everyone's sasam b'simcha about the baby. When a person gets married, everyone's dancing, they're rejoicing, they're joining his simcha, they're all going all out. Then, when a person passes away, everybody's thinking that they're going to Leviyah, they're going to Levaya, they're all thinking about that. There are 2 of the points out of these 3, everybody's also homotomol about the person, but they themselves are not in sync. They're not part of the story. When the baby is born, everyone could go all crazy. The baby has other daigas. She needs to eat, she needs to make she doesn't know from the whole story. When a person passes away, he's in machshava, he's in a different world. Everyone's going. So the Rebbe wants it's that l'mayla, if a person comes with a big entourage, they let them through something like that. It's a big levaya, but the person himself has other daigas at that point. The only point in a person's life that people make a big deal about them, and they taka experience it, is the chasana. When a person's getting married, he made a choice. He decided to get married. It's a big decision, and everyone's rejoicing with his decision, and he's very conscious of it, and he's taka freilach. He's there in ganzen. So it says by Rivka and her batiskas, when she got married, it was k'moy vatikaver vatishaver. She didn't hold of herself and wasn't into her experience, just like vatikaver and just like vatishaver. Throughout, this really connects also to Me'ev Esrim B'Shav Hashanim, that they're kulam shavin, that by her, what the Eibishter wants is good. By her, the chasana, what she didn't make a deal out of herself, just like by vatikaver and vatishaver. By the beginning, when al masber and vatishaver, and this leads us also to a vart of Reb Zusha Vanipalvi. Reb Zusha, one of the we're going to finish with this. It's actually part of the Farbringen already. It says as a big vart of the Baal Shem Tov is Shivisi. You ever heard of Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Sabid? Teaches the Baal Shem Tov what's Shivisi? Midas Hishtavos. Hishtavos means everything is equal. Doesn't matter what happens, you have to be in the same tnuah. So the Reb Zusha Vanipalvi asked, not about this, but he asked on our Parsha, it says, Sarah was ben Esrim b'Sheva, Me'ah b'Esrim b'Sheva Shanim. Sheva b'Esrim b'Sheva. Kulam Shavin l'Toiva. What's Kulam Shavin l'Toiva? You know what this lady went through? She went, there was Pare, there was Grar, she didn't have children, she had to send Hagar, all that she went through, she didn't have an easy ride at all. Right? She was taken to Pare, she went through the hunger also with Avram. She's schlepping around town from going from Haran to Canaan. Elamai, you have to say that Kulan Shavan L'Toiva because she had Midas Shtavos. She had this Vart of the Baal Shem Tov, that Keshem Shemevarchin, she looked at everything L'Toiva. And this goes in hand with this Vart of Vatikaver Vatishaver. That she was even Vatiskas, at a point in life when a person could stop and make it all about them, she was it's not about me, it's about what we're meant to be doing. Yeah. So l'chaim. Have a gewaldige Shabbos. Shabbos mevarchim also. It's Kislev. Chodesh HaGeula as well. Time to think about our shluchas. What was I thinking? There's one of the nyanim that also connects to shluchas. Besides the famous vart over here, that Eved Avam Anoichi, he said, I have a shluchas to say, I'm not going to kim dibarti dvarim, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to do anything until I say. And you should know that Yafas Yichasan, the Torah doesn't, every mitzvah are given in Ramazim, and Eliezer says his whole story about Arichas and everything is quoted. It says from here, Yafas Yichasan Avdei Batei Avos Yesem Mitras and Shalbanim. To hear a vart from the Eved of Avram is greater than Torah and Shalbanim, the Eniklah saying Torah, and it's all a remez. So that's taka big Indian. You see, a shluchas says exactly doesn't. But there's also the fact that what was I thinking? Also the fact that Avram Avinu went to Beersheba. Chatchila, Avram Avinu's hava mina. Why? That was the place where they were sent. That was the Makam HaShluchas. Hey, the Eibshter said, I prepared something else for you. But, what was I thinking? Shaim. Yeah.